Hi everyone, Stacy Whiter here on behalf of Campus Mortgage with part 2 of a 3-part video series on ATR QM Basics, a refresher. Now just a quick reminder before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice or used in place of the CFPB guidelines. Also, this video was issued on July 3rd, 2018, and the information contained in this video is subject to change without notice. So we talked about in part 1 that for a lender to originate a qualified mortgage loan, in other words, a loan that can be sold to Fannie and Freddie, it has to meet certain requirements. In part of that is the ability to repay. So the lender needs to prove that the borrower has the ability to repay. And to do that, they have to look at these 8 key factors. So the first one is current or reasonably expected income or assets that the borrower will rely on to pay the loan. So in other words, the underwriter or the lender needs to verify that the borrower has enough income or enough assets to reasonably be able to pay back the loan, in that they may not consider any value or equity in the subject property. Second key factor, their current employment status. Do they have seasonal employment? Do they have part-time employment? Is it base salary, commissions, whatever it is? They have to consider that. Also, the monthly mortgage payment for the subject property, this has to be factored in. And if you have a situation where it's an ARM loan, you would use the fully indexed rate, which is the higher rate. Number 4, a monthly payment on any simultaneous loans on the subject property must be considered and factored in. And then number 5, monthly payments for property taxes, insurance, HOA fees, or any other payments that are related to the property must be factored into the borrower's debt-to-income ratios. Number 6, debts, alimony, and or child support obligations must be factored in. Monthly debt-to-income ratio or residual income. And then number 8 is the credit history. So these are the 8 key factors. And again, this isn't probably anything new to you, but the key here is that the lender needs to be able to validate or document and keep that information for 3 years after consummation of the loan to prove that they underwrote it with the ATR rule in mind. So, and if a lender does this, then it is assumed that it is a qualified mortgage. So when it comes to a regulation violation, so that's the most important piece. So a regulation violation, so ATR compliance is based on the information during the origination. So here's an example. So let's say the underwriter underwrites the loan with the information that they have at the time, and they underwrite it to all of those 8 key factors, which means it meets the ability to repay rule and the qualified mortgage rule. They originate the loan, consummate it, and go on and close the loan. So then let's say a year later, the borrower loses their job and they now do not have the ability to make those mortgage payments anymore. The borrower could not come back to the lender and basically sue the lender and say, hey, you said I could qualify and I was able to repay this loan, but look, now I'm not able to repay this loan. So in that case, the borrower is not really going to have any, legs to stand on, because the lender underwrote the time with the information available. And at the time, assumably, there was no way to know they were going to lose their job within a year. So very important there. Now, in another situation where let's say that the lender overlooked something that was available, so maybe it was that they were qualifying the borrower on seasonal income and said that they meet the ability to repay based on seasonal income, and then 6 or 7 months later, the seasonal income goes away and then the borrower can't pay the mortgage anymore, they could come back and say, hey, you knew I had seasonal income, but you still qualified me for this mortgage. So in that case, the borrower could have a claim. And if they do win the claim in court, then the lender may be liable for up to 3 years of finance charges and other fees that the borrower incurred on the mortgage, and also their legal expenses. Now, there is a 3-year statute of limitation on ATR claims. This is important because a lot of times underwriters will feel, concerned, hey, what happens if I think I'm writing the loan according to, or approving the loan according to ATR requirements, but then the borrower comes back, 2 years later and says, no, you didn't. As long as you are using the information, all of the information that you had at the time, and you're meeting the ATR rules, chances are you're going to be fine. All right, that concludes part 2 of this 3-part video series. Make sure you check out part 3 where we'll talk more about qualified mortgages piece. Thanks so much for watching. For more tips and videos, please visit campusmortgage.org to look for their weekly mortgage video tips designed for all mortgage professionals, including underwriters, loan officers, processors, closers, and post-closers. See you next time.